What if the foods you trust most are the ones quietly poisoning you? Shocking, isn't it? Yet in 2025 alone, the European Food Safety Authority tightened bans on over 70 U.S. exported products, citing cancer-linked additives, pesticide residues, and viral contamination risks. Aldi, one of America's most trusted budget chains, is right in the middle of this storm. Think about it. If Europe is pulling these products for public health, why are we still stocking our freezers and pantries with them every day? Are we really saving money or gambling with our health for a few dollars difference? This is the Downturn Report, where the truth gets personal. And today we're pulling back the curtain on 10 Aldi bestsellers that Europe has already rejected, but remain staples on American tables. Number 1. Kirkwood breaded chicken fillets. Funny how something as simple as a bag of chicken fillets can look like it's doing you a favor, almost winking at you from the freezer aisle, as if whispering, "Hey, I've got your back." Kirkwood breaded. Chicken fillets have worn that smile for years, promising the comfort of a homemade dinner without draining your wallet. It feels almost clever to toss a couple of bags into the cart, like you've beaten the grocery game with feeding 4 mouths for less than what a gas station coffee costs per plate. People stocked up by the dozen, trusting this crispy promise the way you trust an old neighbor who always waves and says the right things. But neighbors can have secrets, can't they? And this one's secret smells worse the closer you get. Because here's the truth nobody at Aldi puts on the label. These fillets wouldn't even be allowed on a shelf in Europe anymore. As of February of 2025, the European Union reaffirmed its ban on poultry processed with chlorine baths and phosphate-heavy brines, the exact same method that makes these fillets stay fresh. Why? Because those chemicals aren't really about cleaning. They're just for hiding filth, like spraying air freshener in a truck stop bathroom and pretending it's new. A 2024 UK Food Standards Agency study found older adults eating phosphate-loaded chicken were more likely to face kidney stress and heart complications. But you won't see that printed on American packaging, and maybe that's the scariest part. We're smiling at the bargain, chewing away, never asking why other countries treat this food like toxic waste, and don't think it's just about chemicals. A Reuters report from March 2025 uncovered a lawsuit claiming these fillets aren't even pure chicken breast. They're padded with mechanically separated scraps, cartilage, and a gluey white slime mix, banned in Europe since 2024. Investigators even found bits of bone dust and emulsified skin, stuff you'd expect in the cheapest pet food, not on your dinner plate. Aldi called it a labeling mistake, but quietly replaced batches in the Midwest. A move that feels like someone sweeping dirt under the rug before the company arrives. What's worse, a 2024 undercover investigation by Compassion in World Farming filmed supplier farms raising birds bred to balloon in size so quickly that they collapsed under their own weight, gasping for air like busted vacuum cleaners. Workers were seen snapping necks of weaker birds and tossing them into piles. The European Union banned imports from these farms under its 2025 Animal Welfare Directive, calling the practice inhumane and unsafe for the food chain. Yet here, those same birds end up in our freezers because cheap protein still rules the American dinner table. But maybe Aldi isn't the villain. They're caught in a race they didn't design, squeezed between giants like Walmart and Costco, forced to meet impossible price wars or risk disappearing. That's the ugly truth of the system. It chews up not just chickens, but companies too. If you think about it, maybe Aldi's just another piece on the board, pushed by the same hands that push us to keep buying cheap, no matter the cost. So where does that leave us? We can still make better choices. Air-chilled chicken from smaller farms like Bell & Evans or Mary's Free Range, which Consumer Reports praised in 2024. Or even local farmers markets selling bone-in thighs you can brine yourself with buttermilk and salt. And if money's tight, pan-fried oyster mushroom seasoned right can taste surprisingly close to cutlets. But when we keep reaching for the cheapest bag, are we feeding a machine that's quietly deciding how much our health is worth? Maybe it's not just chicken we should be worried about. It's what this whole food system says about us. Do you feel angry, sad, both? Or do you feel something worse, that heavy, sinking thought that we've all been played and no one even asked our permission? Maybe it's time to talk about that, not just in our kitchens, but anywhere people feel like their trust has been sold for pocket change. Number 2, Friendly Farms whole milk. It sits quietly in the cooler, row after row, looking like the one thing you can trust. Friendly Farms whole milk with that red cap and plain label feels like a safe handshake from the past. Simple, wholesome, dependable. For older folks stretching every dollar, it's the cheap choice that feels right, almost comforting, like an old neighbor who always smiles. But what if that comfort is just a mask? What if the milk you trust most wouldn't even make it onto shelves in Europe? Since January 2025, the European Commission has banned milk from cows routinely injected with growth hormones and fed antibiotic-heavy diets. A Danish National Food Institute study in 2024 found that this kind of milk carried measurable IGF-1, a hormone linked to higher breast and prostate cancer risks, especially in older adults. Europe's answer was simple: zero tolerance. Here in America, the FDA says it's fine as long as it's within acceptable levels. But acceptable to whom? Those making money or those drinking it every morning? And it's not just what's inside the carton. In April 2025, the Chicago Tribune reported that one of Aldi's main Midwest dairy suppliers was fined for dumping manure into local streams, contaminating wells with E. coli and nitrates. 2 elderly residents suffered severe infections traced to that water. No recalls, no warning, just business as usual. Europe would have pulled every carton instantly. Here we kept pouring it over cereal without a second thought. The human cost behind the milk is just as ugly. A 2024 animal equality investigation filmed workers punching and kicking cows, dragging them with chains when they collapsed from over-milking. One worker laughed, calling them machines with udders. Stressed cows often develop mastitis, leaking pus into milk, something the EU bans for both ethical and safety reasons. But here, those details barely make the news. Would you still drink it if you saw that footage? Yet maybe Aldi isn't fully to blame. They're caught in a price war where the cheapest gallon wins, pushed to squeeze suppliers until ethics become a luxury no one can afford. Maybe they hate cutting corners, but the system leaves them no choice. So what now? Smaller regional dairies certified RBST-free, like Organic Valley or even oat milk from Califia Farms, rated safer by Consumer Reports, can replace part of the week. Homemade oat milk takes under 10 minutes. No hormones, no pus, just clean milk. And here's the real question. Are we choosing this milk or trapped by a system that gives no better option? Do you feel anger or pity for a chain forced into the same ugly compromises as everyone else? Maybe cheap milk isn't cheap. It's just a quiet debt we're all paying with our health and trust. Number 3, Simply Nature Atlantic Salmon. At first glance, it looks like the very picture of health. Simply Nature Atlantic Salmon, with its soft green and white label, almost whispers promises of clean eating straight from the ocean. For older Americans keeping a nervous eye on cholesterol numbers and aching joints, Aldi makes this salmon feel like a miracle. Omega-3 for your heart, lean protein for aging muscles, and all at a price that makes you feel clever, like you've outsmarted the fancy seafood counters. But what if that neat little package is less ocean miracle and more chemical science project? The European Union doesn't think it's fit for the dinner table anymore. In January 2025, updated EU aquaculture rules banned salmon raised in high-density farms using ethoxyquin, a synthetic antioxidant in fish feed tied to potential neurotoxic and cancer risks. Tests by the Norwegian Institute of Public Health in December 2024 found ethoxyquin residues above EU limits in batches exported from Chile, the same country supplying Aldi. Meanwhile, we're still eating it under FDA rules written back in 1995. 3 decades without an update. Would you trust a 30-year-old rule book for something you feed your grandchildren? The environmental story smells just as bad. A February 2025 Bloomberg investigation showed Chilean salmon farms dumping thousands of dead fish after chemical-triggered algal blooms. Those rotting carcasses spread disease to wild populations, sparking EU import bans from farms with repeated die-offs. In America, no bans, just cheaper prices, bait for shoppers, counting every dollar, unaware of the mess behind the bargain. And the cost doesn't stop with the fish. The Guardian reported in April 2025 that workers at these Chilean farms handled toxic nets for 12-hour shifts, some hospitalized with respiratory problems. One worker said bitterly, "We're not raising food, we're raising chemical experiments." The EU tightened sourcing rules. Here, those same fish kept shipping because no one here demanded answers. Would you still grill it if you pictured the hands that bled to bring it to you? Still, maybe Aldi isn't the villain in this story. They're trapped in a market where truly sustainable salmon costs triple, and most Americans, already stretching every dollar, aren't willing to pay for ethics. Aldi just delivers what the system rewards. Cheap fish, no questions asked. If you want better, try wild-caught Alaskan pink or sockeye salmon, still EU approved and sometimes found frozen at Trader Joe's or Walmart's Great Value Wild-Caught line, rated cleaner by Consumer Reports in 2024. If that's pricey, canned sardines or mackerel offer even more omega-3s. Or baked tofu with seaweed flakes. It mimics salmon surprisingly well and leaves the chemicals out. But here's the question that stings. Is it really Aldi betraying us? Or are we all part of this bargain that trades health and oceans for a low price tag? The next time you taste that salmon, will it feel like the ocean? Or will it taste like compromise? Number 4, Clancys cheese curls. They look playful, don't they? Bright orange, light as air, like happiness in a bag. Clancys cheese curls feel harmless, the cheap, crunchy comfort you toss in a cart without thinking. Perfect for TV nights or a quick treat for the grandkids. For older Americans watching every dollar, it feels like a safe little joy. But Europe doesn't see joy in that neon glow. Since late 2024, multiple EU countries have restricted or banned snacks like this. And once you know why, that cheerful orange dust might feel more like a warning sign than fun. The European Food Safety Authority tightened its ban in October 2024 on snacks with high levels of red 40 and yellow 6 dyes, linking them to neurological effects and immune system stress in seniors. A French National Institute of Health review in 2025 warned these synthetic dyes increase oxidative stress, something the EU refused to gamble with. Yet the FDA still leans on color safety guidelines written in 1969. Think about that. A rule book older than many of the people eating these curls. And it isn't just about color. An NBC News report in January 2025 revealed some batches of Clancys cheese curls exceeded California's Proposition 65 limits for acrylamide, a probable human carcinogen. Europe now enforces strict acrylamide reduction rules. Aldi's U.S. suppliers don't. Seniors who snack on these daily are never told. Even the oil that makes them melt in your mouth carries a story. A Guardian expose in March 2025 tied one supplier's palm oil to Indonesian plantations accused of illegal deforestation and forced labor. The EU bans imports linked to such practices. Here those bags keep lining shelves, no questions asked. Maybe Aldi isn't cold-hearted. They're trapped in a race where cheap wins and ethics lose. But every bag we buy keeps that race running. So here's the real question. Are we victims or part of the problem each time we tear open that shiny orange bag? Number 5. Earth-grown vegan meatless burgers. It sounds like the perfect answer, doesn't it? Earth-grown vegan meatless burgers. Just the name feels clean, honest, almost heroic, as if every bite saves the planet. For older Americans trying to eat healthier, it feels like a guilt-free ticket to better living, all at a price that doesn't sting. But Europe doesn't see heroism in these patties. As of March 2025, many countries have restricted them for reasons that should make you hesitate before throwing another one on the skillet. The biggest red flag? Titanium dioxide, or E171, a whitening agent that gives vegan patties that fake juicy meat look. The European Chemicals Agency linked it to immune system disruption and possible cancer risks in a 2024 study. The EU banned it outright, but Aldi's US version still uses it because our FDA hasn't updated rules since before the EU's ban in 2022. Think about it. Europe treats it almost like toxic waste, yet we're still told it's fine for dinner. And that's not all. A February 2025 investigation by ProPublica and Food and Water Watch revealed pea protein for Aldi's vegan line came from China plants flagged for pesticide contamination. Tests showed glyphosate and chlorpyrifos, both restricted by EU law, lurking in batches shipped to the US. A Harvard School of Public Health review tied chronic glyphosate exposure to gut problems and neuropathy in seniors. Europe shut those doors. We just kept grilling. Even the planet-friendly image crumbles. A January 2025 Reuters report found a Southeast Asian processor for Aldi's vegan patties running coal-powered plants, violating EU sustainability rules. So much for saving the planet with every bite. But maybe Aldi isn't the villain here. They're trapped in a race for cheap plant-based food, forced to use the cheapest suppliers because most of us won't pay triple for truly clean vegan products. Maybe the real issue isn't Aldi. It's a system that rewards low prices over real progress. If you want better, try Dr. Prager's or Hillary's veggie patties, or make your own black bean and quinoa burgers for pennies. But here's the thought you can't shake. Are we eating healthier or just buying another illusion wrapped in green packaging? Number 6. Season's Choice frozen strawberries. They look so innocent, don't they? Bright red, sealed in frosty bags, promising the taste of summer anytime you want. Aldi's Season's Choice. Frozen strawberries are sold as the easy way to stay healthy. Toss them in a smoothie, bake them in a pie, or snack straight from the bag. For retirees trying to eat better without spending much, they feel like a smart, healthy choice. But Europe doesn't see healthy in these berries. By early 2025, they were outright banned in multiple EU countries, and the reasons are chilling. The European Food Safety Authority tightened its rules in January 2025 after norovirus and hepatitis A outbreaks tied to frozen berries. Several Chinese and Mexican plants supplying Aldi were flagged in an April 2025 Food Safety News report for dirty washing systems and possible sewage contamination. The FDA here only offers voluntary guidelines, so the same berries stay on shelves. The risks aren't theoretical. A CDC bulletin in February 2025 linked a multi-state hepatitis A outbreak to imported frozen strawberries, including Aldi's Season's Choice brand. 37 hospitalizations followed, most in seniors, the very customers Aldi markets these to. Europe bans such sources outright under its Traceability and Sanitation Directive. And that's not all. A Greenpeace Germany report in 2024 found pesticide residues above EU limits, including carbendazim, a probable human carcinogen, in Mexican strawberries sold to Aldi. Meanwhile, Al Jazeera exposed labor abuses on those same farms in March 2025. Workers picking fruit in pesticide-sprayed fields for poverty wages. Europe blocked those farms on ethical grounds. America kept buying. Still, Aldi isn't running these farms. They're stuck in a system where clean, ethical berries cost 3 times more, and customers chasing low prices leave little room for better sourcing. Want safer options? Try California-grown organic frozen strawberries from Costco's Kirkland line, or freeze fresh ones yourself in season. But ask yourself this: are we really choosing these berries, or just trapped in a system where cheap always wins, no matter the cost? Number 7. Baker's Corner All-Purpose Flour. It feels like the safest thing you can buy, doesn't it? A plain white bag that promises Sunday pancakes, grandma's biscuits, and pie crusts that taste like tradition. Baker's Corner All-Purpose Flour looks too simple to question. Cheap, reliable, and stacked high at Aldi, like a promise you don't need to doubt. But in 2025, Europe decided it no longer belonged on its shelves, and the reasons may make you rethink every pie you've baked. The European Commission tightened food safety rules in January 2025, lowering limits for deoxynivalenol, a toxic mold byproduct in stored grains. A December 2024 EFSA report found U.S. flour samples, including some tied to Aldi suppliers, testing up to 3 times higher than Europe's new threshold. Chronic exposure weakens the immune system and damages the gut. Risks especially dangerous for seniors. The FDA, it still treats DON limits as voluntary, so this flour keeps filling shelves. And there's more. A CDC report from February 2025 linked a multi-state E. coli outbreak to contaminated flour, with over 50 cases and 2 deaths, most in older adults. Baker's Corner was among the brands recalled, but by then, most of the bags had already been used. Europe bans any flour connected to outbreaks until safety is fully verified. The US lets other batches from the same facility stay on sale. Even the wheat itself carries a story. A Reuters investigation in January 2025 revealed Eastern European suppliers selling chemically treated, low-grade wheat rejected by EU buyers. Sprayed with antifungals banned under EU law, it was milled for markets with looser rules, including ours. But Aldi isn't running this race by choice. In a system where people expect a $2 bag of flour, raising prices for cleaner sourcing risks losing customers. Aldi plays by the same loose rules as everyone else because the market rewards cheap, not safe. For better options, try King Arthur's unbleached flour, rated among the cleanest by Consumer Reports, or buy organic local flour when possible. But ask yourself, are we still eating the same flour our grandmothers trusted? Or have we traded safety for a price tag we don't question anymore? Number 8. Parkview Smoked Bratwurst. It feels like comfort in a package, doesn't it? Parkview Smoked Bratwurst brings back backyard cookouts, football Sundays, and quick dinners when life feels too heavy for anything fancy. Aldi sells it as affordable nostalgia, a smoky taste of tradition for families and retirees stretching every dollar. But Europe now bans similar products outright, and the reasons might make you hesitate before tossing another brat on the grill. The European Food Safety Authority's 2025 guidelines set strict limits on polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, cancer-causing chemicals from smoking. A German consumer safety lab study in November 2024 found Aldi's U.S. Bratwursts had PA levels up to 4 times higher than EU limits, especially benzoaperine, linked to colon and stomach cancer. Europe forces companies to use low-pass smoking or face bans. The FDA. It still calls packs unavoidable. It gets worse. In January 2025, Food Safety News reported a listeria contamination at an Iowa plant making Parkview Bratwursts. 11 people, mostly seniors, were hospitalized. Europe would have pulled every product immediately. The U.S. plant resumed after a quick cleaning. And behind the meat, a December 2024 undercover report showed pigs in filthy pens, open wounds untreated, and workers shocking animals, even pregnant sows. EU welfare rules now block such farms. U.S. sourcing doesn't. Aldi isn't evil. They're trapped in a market where keeping a pack under $3 means choosing cheap suppliers and outdated methods. But doesn't that raise a harder question? Are we guilty too, trading health and ethics for a smoky taste that feels like home? Number 9. Simply Nature Organic Honey. Honey is supposed to be pure, isn't it? A golden jar of health, drizzled into tea or spread on toast, feels like the safest indulgence. Aldi's Simply Nature Organic Honey sells exactly that dream. Organic, natural, responsibly sourced. For older Americans watching their health, it feels like buying wellness by the spoonful. But Europe doesn't see sweetness in this honey anymore. As of March 2025, certain Aldi-sourced batches are restricted, and the reasons sting more than any bee. The European Commission's Honey Authenticity Directive found that Aldi's primary Southeast Asian supplier failed authenticity tests. A January 2025 report detected rice syrup adulteration and trace streptomycin, an antibiotic banned in EU beekeeping. The U.S. outdated FDA rules still allow residues far above EU standards. Worse, a Bloomberg Green expose in February 2025 linked the same supplier to massive bee die-offs caused by neonicotinoid pesticides, chemicals Europe banned under its Pollinator Protection Act. Imagine that. Organic honey possibly tied to killing the very bees that keep ecosystems alive. And the human cost? An Al Jazeera investigation showed migrant workers at these farms enduring 12-hour shifts, chemical burns, and respiratory issues. Europe bans such producers outright. America still imports their honey without question. Aldi isn't scheming. They're trapped in a market where ethical honey costs triple and customers chase $5 jars. But maybe that's the real issue. Are we all guilty of valuing cheap organic over real purity? For better options, buy from local beekeepers or try Nature-Nate's Pure Raw Honey, which scored high for authenticity in 2024. Or switch to maple syrup or date syrup and ask yourself, are we betrayed by Aldi or by our own willingness to believe every shiny label? If this makes you pause, maybe it's time we talk about it. Not just here, but everywhere. Share your thoughts, your anger, your hopes. Because change starts with conversations like this. And if you believe people deserve to know the truth about what's on their plates, stay with us. Subscribe, share this video, and let's keep asking the questions no one else dares to.